I'm Jason Bernstein from AEG, and we're here today with Craig Newman, who's the head of performing arts for APA.
It is a pleasure to be here. Big fan Jason, big fan AEG, big fan Cole, big fan IEBA.
Cool. Well, let's jump into it. I think everyone's got your background, so let's just hop in with the questions. For starters, what are the trends you're seeing right now with performing arts centers? Like, what's hot?
I remember when I first got into the world of performing arts, there was a real dedication to the fine arts, and there still is, and that's actually something that I've gotten more into with my personal roster, dance, it's theatrical, et cetera. But what I love about where PAC booking is going and presenting is going is the side that looks towards popular culture, popular music, just basically trying to spread things around so that all tastes, age groups, folks who have different interests can all be appeased. Is that ballet? Is that Broadway? Sure. And you're going to get your opera and you're going to get, your blockbuster, your Hamiltons of the world. But to be able to go to the same theater where you saw Phantom of the Opera and see Elvis Costello, sure. But maybe you're not seeing Elvis with his full big band. Now you're seeing something cut down, something intimate, something that just sort of takes an Elvis Costello fan and transports them to a new world. And for me, when I'm signing artists or working with my current artists, one of the topics we discuss is there a performing art show within your repertoire? For example, right now, I've been with the Plain White T's since 2006. Everybody knows their cavalcade, their string of hits. And one of the things we talked about recently was, is there a Plain White T's performing arts show? And if so, what is that? How are we making it more intimate? How are we introducing the history of the band and video? So that's one thing. Another thing I love about what I'm seeing with performing arts centers is experiential and almost like breaking the fourth wall. Right now, there's a very popular tour out there called Double Dare, which takes the game show and puts it into theater. Same a few years before that with The Price is Right. We're seeing this opportunity where the audience is no longer just the audience. They can actually be a part of the event. And whether that's during the concert, during the event, or afterwards in a meet and greet VIP environment, you are getting to interact. I represent a lot of family shows. Well, the kids want to meet the characters. Is the character coming down the aisle in the middle of the show and sitting on somebody's lap? Oh my gosh, you get such joy out of that. Are you going to a VIP event afterwards and getting to take a photograph with your favorite character? And then lastly, for me, it's the idea of the jukebox musical, which really is taking theatrical, taking Broadway concept, and having a musical theme to it. One of the shows we're out there with this fall is We Will Rock You, the Queen musical. Well, that is the music of Queen, but it's set to this amazing story. So I love the idea that you don't just have to have Broadway sit down for weeks at a time. If you have the right theatrical show, you can tour it like a rock and roll show. And
it's moving night to night.
Moving night to night. The tour that we're doing in the fall is 11 weeks, and I would say 90% of that are single-nighters, and that's how we planned it.
Cool. And now all at performing arts centers?
No, we're doing various venues. We're doing performing arts centers. We're performing at cut-down arenas, sort of traditional theaters, even some casinos. And that's an interesting point, is that the world of PAC is now crossing into the world of the casinos, where certain properties are calling the agents and saying, we want to do a week of Broadway. We want to do a speaker and lecture series. We want to have something that's a little bit different from the traditional music and comedy that we've had.
And what are some of the highlights on that?
I want to go back to We Will Rock You for a moment. We're playing 3 nights at Mystic Lake and 2 nights at Soaring Eagle, and we're performing at properties in Vegas and in Palm Springs and in the Midwest. And it was so cool for these casinos to say, we want to do something different. I said, now you do understand it as dialogue. It's a little bit of a longer program. You're not going to get your folks out to the gaming tables as quickly. They said, no, this is diversity. It's bringing something different to our patrons. So in the same way that performing arts centers are looking to spread the diversity to their patrons, the casinos are looking to do the same thing.
Very cool. And you touched on the VIP experiences. How have those been changing over the past few years? And is it good? Is it bad? And can you talk about that?
I love it. When I sign a show, one of the first things I discuss with the producer or the manager is, will there be some sort of VIP experience? For every market in this country, for every population base, there's always going to be someone who's going to say, I will spend the extra money to get the signed poster. I will spend the extra money to have the intimate concert. I will spend the extra money to meet someone or to have my child be a part of something that you can't get just with the general show. So VIP experiences are becoming multifaceted. When we put Shopkins Live out in 2018, the producers, very savvy producers, said, let's find a way not only to mingle the kids with the characters, let's throw a party. Let's have cookies and milk. Let's have music playing. Let's have coloring books at the table. My daughter, who's now 7, she was 5 at the time, got up into that VIP experience, grabbed a coloring book, and one of the Shopkins characters leaned over her shoulder and said, hey, can I color with you?
Wow.
My daughter was on cloud 9. That is such a wonderful way to intermingle all aspects of what we're doing with this entertainment.
And are they doing multi-tiered ones, or is it one option, or is it several options typically?
Most of my VIP experiences are single-tiered. So you are paying an upcharge, and you are told, okay, this is a post-event, a post-concert event. You'll meet here. You'll get this bracelet, this swag bag, this photo. I am privy that there are certain experiences where they want to offer you a little bit more. None of my shows are doing that, but I have heard that, especially with larger name, arena level classic rock and country, not only do you get a chance to perhaps meet them and have a meet and greet, but you hear a concert and maybe you get, I know there was one tour where they actually were cooking barbecue and you could pay for that experience of having barbecue with your favorite artist. Right. I do think that multi-tier is something to look at for all of us. But for the performing arts centers, with the capacities we're dealing with, we're typically only offering up about 100 VIP tickets. Okay. That makes more sense to me to have a single tier.
Cool. And with the family entertainment shows, like you said, you took your daughter when she was 5. A lot of those are tied to different television properties or toys or whatever it might be. Can you talk about some of the impact on newer areas in the area of family entertainment and where things are coming from?
Yeah, I want to kind of look at it in 2 directions. One, something that has visual, let's call it TV, movie, comic book, right? That's the sort of, you've seen a program and now it's become a touring entity. And then the second idea is something that's intellectual property. Shopkins is a toy. We didn't have a television show out of the gate. Now we do on Netflix, but initially we didn't. We were a toy that became a show. But then you look at, for next year, we're doing Angry Birds Live in the spring. It's going to be the first tour ever of Angry Birds. Well, the Angry Birds movie, the first one, huge box office, 400 million worldwide, Sony Pictures. The new movie coming out this fall, they're expecting even bigger things. And we're springboarding on that to launch the first ever Angry Birds Live tour. Very exciting.
Sounds cool. There's often a tension on the pricing and trying to keep shows affordable for families against, obviously everyone wants to turn a profit. I guess there's a few exceptions in the PAC world where it's programming and there's a budget. But how have the conversations about pricing evolved lately in terms of where we are, where we need to be, how VIP plays into that?
Absolutely. I like the word evolved. And the reason I say that, you have to learn from your experiences. If you have a show and you find that there has been price resistance, obviously the AGs of the world, the agents of the world, hopefully fluidly you can change things on the fly. But more importantly, can you change so that your next tour is cognizant of what happened on the previous tour? Sure. If I go out there with a family property and find that a family of 4 cannot afford a night out, the parking, the tickets, the food and beverage, the merch, if it feels too high, how do I adjust for that in the future? And let's be honest, I'm a father. We go out, we're spending money. It's expensive to go out these days. And you have to choose what you want to do, what you want to see, where you want to be. All of that comes down to a handful of thoughts to me. 1, location, venue. Is it a great venue experience? 2, the ticket price. Can I afford to take a full family? So whenever I'm talking with my presenters, my promoters, I'll open up the dialogue, which is very important to do. How have these similar shows been pricing? 1. 2, how much should we stretch the scaling? We know there's always going to be folks who will spend $50, $60, $70. They just can. But we also know in every community there are folks that may get capped at $25, Do we have a $19.99 value ticket where you can buy 4 for $20 a pop? I like to have that conversation before we even get into the offer stage.
Okay.
And I think that's important for us to do.
I mean, is it a little more almost like baseball where there's always going to be people who want the box seats, others just want to get in the door and, have the hot dog and a soda included with the ticket.
Yes.
And know what they're getting in and out for.
And that goes into the VIP aspect too. There's always going to be someone who will pay that upcharge. There's always going to be someone who will pay that P1. I represent a show called Cirque Musica, and it is, it's Cirque and acrobatics meets live orchestra and incredible music and a storyline. There are always people that are going to pay more to be up close because when you're closer in a Cirque environment, you're seeing the magic and the tricks up closely. Sure. So when we price Cirque Musica, we know we can have a higher P1 as long as we are cognizant of having an affordable P3 or P4. And I will say to these buyers, here's 10 different shows we did last year with scalings. We're very comfortable with these pricings. How do they fit in your market? Of course there's going to be different, some downtown Chicago ticket pricing than, a secondary market in the Midwest. Take a moment, do your research, speak with the presenters, find out what's comfortable in their world and really play off of that. But yes, to answer the general question, there's always going to be someone who will pay the high and there's always going to be someone who needs to afford the low.
Yeah. And I think what you say about the different markets, I've never been impressed by anyone who can sell out Madison Square Garden.
Right.
Because I think it's the most populated city in North America. When you can sell out Fargo, then I'm impressed. Just based on the demographics and
And
what
for the
costs
record, Cirque Music, it does sell out in Fargo.
are. All right.
And will continue to do so.
I look forward to seeing it in LA. And in terms of these various buildings, what are some of the ways they've made an impression and can get your attention when they want the shows, whether it's the Fargos or the New Yorks or
sure.
competition everywhere?
Look, Jason, we know that the correct answer, the politically correct answer, the common answer is taking care of the artist. But I want to go a little bit beyond that because yes, it's a no-brainer to take care of the artist, to have great dressing room space, to have good food, to have a caring staff that starts with the greeter from the bus all the way to the usher. That's paramount.
You make it sound like we're dealing with human people.
But I think you would agree. Can you go even further than that? If an agent is flying in or a manager or a record label executive, is somebody at the venue taking the time to recognize that person's coming and that person actually has say in a future tour, right? I have been to venues across this country and felt so well taken care of, well received. They recognized that I was there to see and hear and experience and go back to my office and say to my associates, that theater is incredible. That staff is warm. The acoustics are amazing. The stage is perfect for your show. And without giving examples, like I said, the majority of the venues I'm visiting are offering that kind of warmth to the artist and to the personnel. And of course, we've all been to those venues that have come up short. I'm not afraid to talk to someone on that staff and say, here's maybe a couple of ways you could make things a little bit better. And I feel like they're open to that.
Is there a portion of it just when you're routing a tour that you're like, oh, these 3 or 4 cities stand out or these venues stand out, and you kind of work them in, or someone maybe on the other end of the spectrum, it was a very average experience and they lose the jump balls?
Yes, there are certainly venues that I will use as anchors. I will say, I am so confident that I'm going to play this particular venue in this particular market that I'm going to call that promoter or that in-house buyer first and say, can we get dates on hold? And I build my routing off of that. Now, far be it from me to not have the open conversation with all the competition in the market. I'm not saying one and done, it's got to be there. And I'll even say to the presenter, let's hold dates, but just so you know, I'm going to speak.
Sure.
I don't necessarily think that there is that a venue is always the perfect venue for every show, right? Sometimes the family show fits better here, and the rock show fits a little bit better here. And the stage for this particular venue is perfect for the intimate Broadway show, but maybe not right for the larger show. We have to take the time to understand our venues, to look at what their tech packs are, share those with our producers. For the tours I'm currently working on, anytime I'm pulling an offer, I'm pulling a tech pack. And I'm sending it to the manager, producer, and saying, Are we 100% sure that we can fit on this stage?
That's a huge issue, because there's nothing worse, I think, than when a show, tours up and running and you find out we can't host this event.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't work.
And can you imagine seeing that show there and looking from the promoter, the agent's perspective and saying, this show doesn't belong here at all. And knowing that you probably could have sold more tickets up the road.
Right. And sometimes I would assume, depending on family shows versus rock shows, some things are better downtown, some things are better in the suburbs.
Oh, yes.
All those kinds of...
Chicago is such a great example. Chicago has some of the best downtown venues and some of the best suburban venues. You can go outside of Chicago to Aurora or Joliet or St. Charles or DeKalb or Waukegan or any of these markets and play the right venue for your show. And sometimes you sit there and say, this show really belongs at the Chicago Theater. Or no, this show really belongs at the Paramount in Aurora. Sure. Again, that comes with experience and from learning from what you've done in the marketplace.
Totally makes sense. And along those lines, because people may or may not understand why you went with someone else's venue over theirs, and it's not necessarily about money. It might be any of those issues we're touching on. What are some of the things you wish more buyers understood when it comes to your area, whether it's that or anything else?
One thing is, especially with the shows that have to be built, it's a process. Sometimes you're asked, what is the show? What is the rider? What are the tech specs? What's the promo look like? Like I use, Angry Birds right now. I mean, we're pretty far along with that show, but I started pitching Angry Birds last year and people were saying, oh, what is the show? And I said, well, I can tell you what the show is likely going to be, but you have to give us time to create it. With that said, we know enough to know how to put a preliminary rider together. We know it's going to be 1 or 2 trucks. We know that it's going to fit in 1,500 capacity theaters. But sometimes I wish that folks understood why we can't immediately give them everything for a new show. Additionally, sometimes we are at the behest of, the parent company or the licensor of that brand. They may not be ready to give us all their trade secrets yet.
Sure.
Sometimes they have stuff that's under lock and key. And so that's one thing. I mean, look, for the most part, sounding a little arrogant, I think an agent who knows what they're selling can sell and can get the buyers pretty well versed in what they have out there. And I like to think I can do that. But, I always understand that there's going to be those moments where we can't divulge everything because we just don't have it all yet. If you say to me, Craig, you represent the Monkees and what's the show going to be? I could sing you 4 songs and tell you what the show's going to be. I mean, there's going to be little twists and turns, but if I have a brand new product that I'm building, I still want you to know about it. I still want to hold dates with you. I just may not be ready to give you the whole enchilada.
Will you typically have that all resolved, though, prior to when tickets are going out on sale? Okay.
Yes, because, again, you have to be able to
avoid surprises?
Exactly, yeah. It's not a perfect science, Jason, but we've all got our Mr. Wizard hats on, and we're all trying to figure out new and fun ways to bring entertainment to these people. I always say, God willing, a long time from now when I'm gone and people say, who was Craig Newman and what was his mission? My mission is I just want to make everyone happy.
That's such a simple goal. Cool. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and I think this is great, and I'm very happy.
Me as well. Thanks for having me.